Greetings, everyone. Come on in the room. I am super excited to be able to introduce to some and re-announce to everybody else the Pearl Hale podcast. So you all got to come on in now. I know you hear me. It is about that time. So it's 10 o'clock in some places, 9 o'clock in some places at night. In some places, it's like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. But wherever you are, you have got to be on the show tonight. Come on in. We're welcoming your comments. You know, Pearl Hale is going to have some super exciting, inspiring, fearless, just amazing, listen, thought-provoking, because she is a thought leader. She is going to have some thought-provoking conversation for you all tonight that I guarantee is going to be transformational for everybody who attends. Now, listen, here's the beautiful part. You can rewind, you can... Welcome to the Pearl Hale Show. I'm your host, Pearl Hale. I'm a minister, life transformational speaker. I am so excited tonight. We are talking about forgiveness. Now, if you're from 35 to 55, older or younger, I want you to come into the room. We're going to look at forgiveness from a totally different perspective and angle. We're here to help you. Life changes equals life transformation. I am so excited. I have my guest, Pastor Susan Berry, who's having some technical issues, but as soon as she get in, I am going to bring her into the conversation. First off, forgiveness, looking at forgiveness in a new way. A lot of times we've been taught one way, but let's delve into this topic of looking at forgiveness in a new way. First, we are going to look at the scripture that comes from Matthew, the 18th chapter, the 21st through the 22nd verse. I'm using the New International Version, and it reads, Then Peter came to Jesus and asked, Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins against me? Up to 7 times? And then in verse 22, Jesus answered, I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times. Very interesting. For years, we have looked at forgiveness and we say, wow, it's a hard thing to do. We are emotional beings by nature. We, all of us process things in a different way, but we're going to take a look at this a little closer. I want to ask you a question tonight, and you can put it in the comments. Do you believe, is it realistic to forgive and forget? Well, I want to suggest to you that according to an article in Psychology Today, the often cited phrase, forgive and forget, is both common and problematic. It's frequently used to persuade or pressure people into forgiving those who have wronged them. However, the idea that forgiving is equivalent to forgiveness is misguided. Forgetting is an unrealistic expectation. And in many cases, it's healthier and safer to remember offenses rather than trying to erase them from your memory. So there is a lot of ideas. And so we understand that forgiveness is not forgetting. A lot of people say you can just forget. It don't work like that. You have to remember some things. However, we want to look in further to what we're talking about in terms of forgiveness. Forgiveness does not erase the memory. Now, I want you to get this clear. So according to the study and according to
this article, forgiveness does not erase the memory of the offense. Rather, it involves an awareness of the harm that has been done. Forgiveness requires memory, not its absence. Now, genuine forgiveness requires retaining some memory of the offense, including associated thoughts, emotions, or physical sensations. In fact, many researchers argue that remembering the offense is essential for forgiveness to occur. And this reference is from an article in Psychology Today, August 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm waiting for Apostle Barry to come in. She's having a little technical difficulties, but we're going to continue with this subject. Sometimes we talk about forgiving and forget. We have to be careful because Jesus said, how many times should you forgive? 77 times, meaning you should often forgive. However, what people miss is they say, oh, you should forgive and forget. You should forgive and forget. Oh, it doesn't work that way. Sometimes, or oftentimes, you will forgive somebody. Let's say you have a disagreement with someone. Let's say someone took some money from you, or someone cheated you, and you've decided, let me forgive them. That's fine. But when you deal with that person again, you're not going to deal with that person if they stole from you or was unfair in money situations over and over again. You're not going to deal with them in terms of business because it's not healthy. Now, you can choose to forgive to move on, but in those cases, you're not going to forget because, in other words, you're just going to let a person keep beating on you or taking from you and using you. And so forgiveness is not that. Forgiveness is for you to move on. And I want you to take a look, and you know I'm a quoting queen. And I want you to take a look at my girl. This is the quote for tonight. This is the quote for tonight from Maya Angelou. Forgiveness. It's one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. To forgive everybody. You are relieved of carrying that burden of resentment. You really are, lighter. You feel lighter. You just drop that. So in other words, the feeling, the emotion of unforgiveness is really a bad thing. When you choose to forgive, you drop it. It's true, you feel lighter. But again, in certain instances, it's okay. You're not wrong. Where if you've had disputes or disagreements where you stand clear of Susie, Sally, or Tim, because it can lead to something detrimental. Okay? You've forgiven them, but you're not wrong for saying, I'm going to stand clear of these situations. They're just not connected to my destiny. What happened to me was a learning lesson. And so I am not wrong if I forgave them, but I haven't forgotten the offense. And I want to hear from you. What do you think about this topic? What do you think about this topic? Looking at forgiveness in a whole new way. When it comes down to forgiveness, all of us have had something that we struggle with. All of us have had some problem, some issue that we struggle with. And forgiveness is one of them. I've been told oftentimes by some of my relatives, I don't easily forgive. I'm not one of those people who easily forgive. And that may be true. because we're all wired differently. It takes time when somebody cut you so deep or when something happens that's very bad. It can take years. You know, a lot of time people say, oh, girl, forgive or move on and this and that. It's easy for some depending on our emotional state. But everybody's different. Sometimes we have to be processed. Sometimes it takes years to get over the pain. It takes years to forgive offenses. But when we come back, don't touch that dial. We're going to be back with more looking at forgiveness in a new way. And I am your host, Pearl Hale. Life changes equals life transformation. And we're going to come back and see how unforgiveness can affect your well-being. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be back in a moment with more after this very important commercial break.
What does it take to be a change maker? Confidence, opportunity, and the right support. The Black Student Leadership Summit is more than an event. It's a movement designed to uplift Black students at historically Black colleges and universities. Through inspiring speakers, interactive sessions, and leadership resources, we help students amplify their voices, embrace their potential, and create lasting change in their communities. But to make this possible, we need your support. Your donation grants access to transformative mentorship, educational resources, and while raising funds for HBCU students, every contribution, big or small, helps develop the next generation of Black leaders, equipping them with the tools to thrive. When you give, you're not just supporting students, you're strengthening entire communities and shaping the future. Click the link below to donate today. Join us. Inspire change. Build a lasting legacy.
Welcome back to the Pearl Hale Show. If you're from 35 to 55, older or younger, I want you to come into the room. We're talking about forgiveness, looking at forgiveness in a new way. I also want to give you one more example. I'm going to give you, for instance, if you overheard a close friend of yours, right, gossiping about you, but then you forgot about it. You haven't forgiven them, really. You haven't forgiven them. You've just forgotten the memory, okay? Genuine forgiveness requires retaining some memory of the offense, including associated thoughts, emotions, or physical sensations, okay? And so we are going to move along, and Apostle Barry is having some technical difficulties. We're going to talk about how unforgiveness can affect your health. According to Johns Hopkins, research from Johns Hopkins Hospital, there is an enormous physical burden to being hurt and disappointed, which results in numerous changes in heart rate, blood pressure, immune responses. These changes then increase the risk of depression, heart disease, and diabetes, among other conditions. Forgiveness, however, calmness, stress levels leading to improved health. Years ago, I was at an event, And there was a young lady. I stay in my 1A, 2B, and her hair looked very nice. And so I said, "Oh wow, that's a nice hairstyle you have." And granted, they were pretty young, and they said to me, "Yeah, I started wearing these wigs because I got cancer, because I built up so much resentment because I was made to go to school and do the right things. And my siblings, they didn't go to school, but all of them got married and had children, and I didn't. And I built up so much bitterness till it caused cancer." Now, I was shocked because that was the first time that I heard about unforgiveness associated with cancer or sickness. Now, of course, other people may have heard, but that was the first time I heard about it. And how, when we are unforgiving and we hold on to grudges and things, how we're making ourselves sick while people are going on. Now, it can be hurtful. It can be very devastating if you hold on to things, or if you see your life vicariously through other people. Because to make that situation a little different, it could have hurt everybody. Again, their emotional state is different. But however, maybe God has my assignment in adopting a child as opposed to having a physical child. I know a lot of people who they wanted to have children, and it was their dream to have children. But they got a word. They believed in a prophetic word that said it wouldn't be good for them in childbearing. And I don't believe every situation is the same, but they went on to marry someone who had children, or they adopted. And that's not everybody's situation. However, but this individual built up so much resentment, and those things happen. One thing we have to be careful about: forgiveness is for you. And the reason why it's for you, because those who offend us, they're going on with their lives. And in some cases, they don't even realize they've offended us, and they don't even care. And so when you hold on to things, you block your assignment. When you hold on to things so tightly, and again, we're not saying forgetting, because that's hogwash. If someone does something detrimental, it's going to be in your memory. You have to be careful, and sometimes you need to handle people with a long handled spoon, so you can protect yourself from even being in a position of unforgiveness. You have to watch who you hang with. You have to understand that your life is fragile. We are fragile. Your assignment is important. What you need to pay attention to on this earth is important. And anybody who takes up space in your life affects your life. And you can get sick when you don't forgive. You can often hurt someone. I've have so many stories in my book, Bruised to be Used, and I have so many stories and real life experiences where people didn't let go of things and detrimental things happen. And God is speaking to someone tonight and letting you know that it's okay that you have that memory, but He's calling you to release and forgive your offenders or the offense for you, because of the destiny because what he is calling you to do, you have to move forward and you have to release that offense and those who offended you and move forward. And sometimes you have to be wise as a serpent and gentle as a dove, as the word would say. I want to hear from you. I want to hear your comments on this subject. Thank you so much for those of you who are commenting on this subject, looking at forgiveness in a new way, because God comes to bless you. He comes to heal you in this season, and you don't want to be sick. And sometimes that sickness, that pain, depression is no joke. Nervous breakdowns are no joke. Cancer is no joke. And any one of those things can happen with you being forgiven. So imagine if you're unforgiving. And so there is a blessing in you shifting the way you look at things. It's a blessing in you forgiving and moving on. Because sometimes some things are just misunderstandings. Sometimes you can be looking at something one way and another person look at something another way. I have a question. It's a very good question. Dr. Williamson, what if someone brutally raised or attached you and they are not asking for forgiveness and said they will reoffend given the opportunity? How do you forgive them? So in instances of rape, okay? So in those instances, again, you don't forget the memory and you cannot put yourself in a dangerous situation. Because when you put yourself in a dangerous situation, it can be detrimental to your health. So you want to seek professional counseling in that regard. You also might want to get the authorities involved because that is serious. That is something serious, and you have to stay away. Again, you can forgive, but you can't forget, and you can't be around those individuals because they're not mentally stable. And thank you for your comment. See, this is what we're talking about. Sometimes we are churched all our lives. We have religion, but we have to understand the spiritual side of things as well. And you can't be foolish enough that if something's detrimental to your health, like if something can bring you bodily harm or things like that, you have to stay away. And you have to forgive, but you cannot forget because you have to move on. You have to move on because like I said, I have so many instances, and you need to pick up a copy of my book, Bruised to Be Used, where I've met so many people for my life's assignment, for my life's mission, where things went south because of unforgiveness, because of ungodly soul ties, and because people refuse to let go. Again, you'll often hear me say this: human emotion is stronger than logic. It takes time to forgive. I don't care what anybody say. Everybody's different. What takes Johnny, so it may be easy to forgive somebody who took your candy bar, but it's not easy to forgive someone who broke your heart. Nevertheless, it's a process. It's a process. And I thank you so much for watching. Don't touch that dial. I'm going to have Pastor Susan Berry next time with me. She was having some technical difficulties, difficulties, but don't touch that dial. I'm going to be back with my last segment on looking at forgiveness in a new way. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back in a moment with more.
Your best. So I'm asking you, I'm demanding from you, whatever it is in your life, give it your best. Not for me, not for a teacher, not for moms, not for you. Like, what you want? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Your best. Grind. Go all the way to graduation and be like, all right, that's one step. I'm up to the next. College, boom, I'm up to the next. Master's, boom, I'm up to the next. PhD, I'm up to the next. Anybody want to go to med school? Yeah, save my life, baby. Thank you. I want a doctor. Thank you. Your best. What does your best look like? And we haven't been able to answer that question. None of you, I would bet, can answer the question. Because we haven't asked ourselves that. We haven't given ourselves that opportunity to give our best.
Welcome back to the Pearl Hale Show. Thanks for watching. We're looking at unforgiveness in a new way. And for those of you who are joining us, we were just talking about the effects and damage that it can do to your health. Again, we talked about the study at Johns Hopkins Hospital. There's an enormous physical burden to being hurt and disappointed. This is why we have to be so careful from Jump Street. And life happens is to guard your heart and mind. Life happens. Things happen. And they're not that easy to process. It's not that easy, people say, to just move on when you have a physical tie with someone. When you've been with someone for years, it's hogwash. You just move on. You have history with an individual. So those things take professional help, therapists, a counselor, maybe a psychiatrist. Sometimes we need to go the extra mile because depression is real. Emotional instability is real. So all of these things require us. But that scripture where Jesus talks about 77 times, what he's saying is that when you are in relationship with people, be it male, female, business, offenses are going to come. Things are going to happen that is out of our control. You're going to have disputes. And so you're going to have to learn how to forgive. Now, obviously, Dr. Williamson's comment about rape is a very deep emotional thing. So that's something that you would need counseling for. You would need to see a therapist for those kinds of things because they're deep, because the memory, again, we're talking about forgiveness. You may forgive someone, but the memory and the fact that there could be more harm that's coming to you, you have to keep your distance. You have to look at it more broadly and be aware of those things. And I'm glad you joined me tonight. I am Pearl Hale. I want you to consider partnering with the Pearl Hale Show for as low as $7 a month. You can partner with us. Just click on that QR code. Also, click and subscribe on YouTube. And also, you can watch us on Facebook Live. We're so excited that you've joined us. And again, if you're just coming into the room, we're talking about forgiveness. And God is with you. He's with you through the pain and work through the process. And even if you're at a point now where you feel you can't forgive, you're doing okay if you're taking steps. If you're recognizing that this thing is hurting me bad and it's going to take me some time to forgive, it's okay. But you pick up that scripture, Matthew, the 18th chapter, the 21st and the 22nd verse, and I want you to meditate on that and just say, Lord, help me to release the pain. Help me to release the unforgiveness and let God work on you. Next week, I have an exciting guest. I want you to watch, be with me next week. I have another life-changing conversation with author of Reclaiming My Life. This woman has an awesome story, testimony. Coach Claudia Massey. I want you to join me next week on the Pearl Hale Show. Same time, whether that same time, same place, same Pearl Hale channel. Yes, I want you to join me next week. And I want to leave you with this quote. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching this show. Forget about past failures, because whatever God has before you is better and greater than what you left behind. Have a blessed evening. Thank you so much for joining us and watching. I am Pearl Hale, your life transformational speaker, minister, and life coach. And life changes equals life transformation. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.